Perfect. All right. Well, again, a pleasant morning to everybody. Thank you for coming here. My name is Dr. Raymond Tsai. I'm the CTO of AvePoint Public Sector. And as you can see, I'm also a project management professional. PMPs in the house? PMPs? No, PMPs? All right, very good. I come from Washington, D.C., and this is always a treat for me coming to Australia. I was in Brisbane last Tuesday. I keynoted at the PMI annual conference. Anybody went there? It was a great event. Thank you, Karen. A lot of knowledge sharing, a lot of lessons learned. And yesterday I was in Sydney, and boy, Sydney is a beautiful place this time of the year, especially with the Vivid Festival. I don't know if you guys know the lights and all that. I was flying in. I'm like, what's going on? There's a lot of lights, and apparently Vivid happens this time of the year. And last night I came to Melbourne. This is my 4th time in Melbourne, and again, it's such a treat and a pleasure for me to come here. So I was thinking about the topic I'm going to discuss today is this idea of how do we break bad project management? And more importantly, in this day and age, as David was talking about, we live in a new world, in a different world. But unfortunately, a lot of us are in projects that seem like we operate still in the 1920s. Would you agree? Now, to get our conversation started, let's think about that's something more relevant for me, right? As I said, I flew into Sydney, wonderful opera house. It's the pride and joy of Australia. But do you guys know the story of the opera house? It's like the worst managed project ever in history. I mean, the idea started in 1955. Local government decided to hold a contest. We need to build an opera house, invited a bunch of designers from around the world to come up with the greatest design for an opera house. They selected the winner in 1957. Project started in 1959 with a budget of, guess how much the budget is? $7 million, Australian dollars at that time. And you know what the original schedule was like for this project? 4 years. You know how long it took to get this done? 14 years. You know how much you paid for this? 114 million Australian dollars. This is like 1,500% over budget, behind schedule. It's one of those worst projects ever. But fast forward to today. Again, we love the Opera House. In fact, some would argue we would do this again if we knew what the Opera House meant for us today. So why am I talking about this, right? Why am I using this as an example? My point is, I know a lot of you are in projects that you think it's so bad, it's the end of my career. I'm telling you there's hope. Now it begs the question, what's the value of projects? Is it just about schedule? Is it just about scope? Because seriously, I can talk about well-run projects. I work in IT. Who works in IT? Right? You do deployments, you do upgrades. You spent $1 million for the next, upgrade to the cloud. It's perfect, technically. You launch your new version of SharePoint. We're using SharePoint at work, right? Is it really being used? Or in some companies, SharePoint is known as ScarePoint. In fact, 80% of global deployments of SharePoint, which is a 15-year-old technology, is nothing but a big file dump. And some of you would agree, yes? Where's the value? Well-run deployment project, but nobody cares for it. Expensive project, but you can't live without it. So, why are we talking about this? You see, project management today is very complex. As Dave talked about, there's a lot of other elements that affects our project. It's not just schedule anymore. It's not just budget. It's not just scope. The pace of how the world is moving changes every single second. Companies are bought. Companies die. The new workforce comes in. And yet we still have to ensure, as project managers, we deliver accordingly. And these are the common things we deal with. First and foremost, varying project management maturity. I mean, a lot of us here are certified project managers. We took the test. We know all the knowledge areas, processes, inputs, tools, outputs. You remember? Or you forgot it after you got certification, right? We're fine. But everybody else we work in the business, folks in marketing, folks in sales, they didn't learn all these things. And I would argue their maturity is not like what we have as certified project managers. But we still have to work with them. And guess what happens? I just need to get this done. I'm working with a vendor. I don't need to follow any pinball guide process. I just get it done. Maybe for that one project, it's fine, but it's not repeatable. And it's a problem. Because at the end of the year, the CEO or the executives want an all-up view of how much we've spent for all these projects. It's just too hard. Y'all with me? The second challenge we deal with is, in this day and age of tools, we have a lot of different tools. You know, I'm not surprised anymore. I live and work in Washington, D.C. I was working with this government agency who's running some project with vendors and all that. You know how they all manage and communicate it? With a Facebook group. You laugh. She says it's not safe. Yeah, true. But how are email attachments safer? How is using Box or Dropbox safer? Right? I can argue those aren't safe as well. But I can also argue I need to get the job done because I told IT I need this great project management solution. It's taking forever. Forget them. I need to get my work done. So I'm going to do whatever I can, be using text messaging, email, Dropbox, Facebook. I get the job done. That's the reality we live in. The other reality we live in, friends, is resources are scarce. And I find this a lot in IT. You know how the business wants everything yesterday for nothing? And you as IT, you're like, okay, how do I prioritize? I only have 5 developers, and this group wants this new release, they want this new system. And you know, you play the game of resource management Tetris every Tuesday. Where all the managers come together, you look at this crazy spreadsheet, oh, can I use Joe, Tom, and you know that game? That's the world we live in. And lastly, the world we live in is this idea of visibility. You know, more and more executive leadership and customers demand that they want relevant information at the right time, at the right place. They want the reports, they want their status updates. But unfortunately, the way we work today, the way we behave, and the tools we use aren't as effective. You build your project reports every week, what do? You email everybody, hey, can you give me all the status? And then you get all these emails, Excel spreadsheet, whatever. You build your PowerPoint, you show it to the stakeholders on Thursday, and guess what? That information is 5 weeks old. You can't act upon it. Y'all with me? Issue here is reporting is very important, yet we're stuck, right? By the way, I want to share a secret to career success. It's helped me a lot in my 16, 17 years in professional life. When you see your boss tomorrow, look at him or her straight in the eye and you just use one word. You'll get promoted. Dashboard. Instant promotion, right? So we deal with all this. You know, docs, I get it, I understand it. But then juxtapose it with how the world is moving. Dave talked a lot about this new world. But what does this new world look like? So I want to share this quick video and kind of reaffirm, on top of all this, yet the world is behaving and moving differently. So let's see.
Devices. The world has become a giant network. And every second, people are sharing, learning, and making decisions on the go. They're all part of one hyper-connected world. These are your customers. They expect faster responses, personalized service, better experiences. As a business, you have to always be listening to your customers. Anticipate trends. Take action.
Let me jump into this. I've got the, there you go. Let's do this right here. It'll be easier.
Anticipate trends. Take action. And adapt quickly no matter what comes your way, so you can always stay one step ahead. You need the latest information at your fingertips to make fully informed decisions. And as a business, you can give your customers exactly what they want, when they want it. So they walk away with experiences as unique as they are. What if you were connected to everything important? What if you and every person in your company could work together like a network? Suddenly, you're plugged into everything that matters to your business. You're social and collaborating in new ways, exchanging ideas with people across the globe. You're always listening to your employees, customers, and partners. You spot new opportunities to adapt quickly and make change happen. You share documents and information in real time and make decisions faster than ever. When you're working together as one connected network, you can grow your business. You understand your customers, you build better products, and you deliver the best experiences. This is the power of a network. Now's the time to start working like one.
So we got two things going on, right? We got these challenges in project management, and yet we live in this new world. So how do we make these two things meet and work for us? Are you ready for this new world? Are you ready for this change? Because it's not even a question about if you're ready or not. It's here. You see, how things used to work, when we think about the old world, things tend to happen for so long. I mean, when I started project management, I started learning about project management, there's this whole concept of waterfall, very serial, one step at a time, and it's still valid, but in some cases it's too slow. Today, we need to move fast, be more agile, use methodologies like Scrum or Kanban. Yes, and it's great. We used to live in a world where data is scarce. Information is not available as much. Where today, in fact, I would argue we have too much information. When the web was starting, there's this mantra, people saying content is king. You guys remember that? Content is king. We need a lot of content. But today, I would say content is not king anymore. Context is king. Tweet that. Before we think of work as a physical location, we go to work, we clock in 8 o'clock, we do our job, we run projects, we go home at 5. Today, work is not a physical space nor time. Work can be anywhere, anytime, with anything. They made a great point. There's another study that came up. In the Western world, in the first world and second world countries, every individual has an average of 3 devices they use for work. Think about it. You wake up in the morning, what's the first thing you do? You pick your phone, you check your Facebook news feed, maybe check your email, and you start emailing. Agree? Maybe you don't finish your email, then you look at your watch, Apple Watch. I see all my notifications show up. Can I say that, Apple Watch? Mobile first, cloud first, right? Then the third thing is, so you start your email, and then you wait for the bus, you continue your email, you go to work, you finish your email with your computer and Outlook. That's called work shifting. That's the world we live in. And we still do this today. As project managers, as much as we don't want to, we're always very reactive. I was reading, when I was studying to be a PMP, I was reading this book by Max Weidman. He's one of the great project managers out there. But one thing I did not agree with him, he said, as project managers, you should be able to fight fires all the time. I'm like, well, if that's all you do as a project manager, that's not good. You're being reactive. We, as project managers, should be more responsive, proactive, and have more foresight in how we can help the business. This is a great change. This is a great shift. And it's exciting. It's a good thing. You know what's going on, friends? Shift happens. Gee, guys. shift is happening, and this is an exciting time for us project managers. Now, how do we maximize that? How do we take advantage of it? In today's age where information is moving so fast, not only should we react to it, but we should be able to proactively work with this information and deliver better projects and be better project managers. So that's what do you mean by information drives change? Quick example. So it was my first time in Brisbane last Tuesday, and I got in late. I was hungry. So what did I do? I mean, I could ask the front desk where I was going to eat, pull up my phone, look at Yelp, looked at nearby restaurants, looked at the reviews before I decided where I want to go. Is that clear? After I had a good meal, a couple of good pints, I put in my review. Oh, awesome place for first-time visitors. All that in a span of an hour. I took information that other people provided, I had a great experience, and elevated that experience publicly. And you see a lot of companies today where products soar because they have great Amazon reviews, or products tank because they have a bad review. The question is, as project managers, what do we do? Are we agile enough when we get feedback around our project? Do we change? And if we want to change, do we have the right tools to help us? By the way, PMI, 3-4 years ago, did a survey to all project managers around the world asking, what's the number one tool as project managers you rely on to get your work done? You know what the answer was? Email. Excel was number 3, phones was number 2. What's wrong with email, Doc? It's a 1973 technology, for one. I mean, no matter how much fancy we say we are, we have our latest phones, latest gadgets, and whatnot, we still keep our projects in our email inboxes. I'm not saying you kill email. Email has its place, but email is not intended to be a PMIS. Remember the PMIS acronym? Inputs, tools, outputs. In the tool section, there's this thing called PMIS. Did you pass the test? But that's the reality we live in. We have to change. Our roles as project managers today is not just about moving schedules, making sure budgets are done. Our role, we have to step up and be business enablers. Our job is to closely work with the business and respond to the needs and be able to fulfill it through projects, be able to deliver business value quickly and iteratively, and then leverage technology to expedite delivery. And when I talk about technology, I'm not even saying you buy new stuff. Well, you may think, well, we're here at Microsoft, they're going to sell us all these Office 365, these wonderful new products. I mean, you could, but there's a lot of great technology that you have today already that you can take advantage of as you walk out of this session. And I'm going to show you a lot of these things. Because as project managers, at the end of the day, we want to fulfill what the business needs are. And in order to do that, we should leverage technology we have to help us and support us, regardless how simple or how complex the projects are. Now, the big question I always get is, okay, docs, I hear you. Email is not the only tool I should rely on, but I don't have time to learn all this stuff, right? In fact, I would say a year ago, I was working with a large organization in the US. They were upgrading to Office 365. And the IT director, they're going to roll it out to 80,000 people. They're going to run this project. He was like, Docs, what do you think? You know, when we go to Office 365, we're going to use social newsfeed, we're going to use Yammer, we're going to use wikis. I go, whoa, whoa, whoa. Slow down. Why? Just like you, they were very quiet, which makes me insecure as an immigrant to America that my English is not good enough. So I asked the next question. I said, ¿Por qué? Okay, what are you talking about? I said, well, why do you want to use Yammer, Newsfeed, Office? Well, why? Isn't that the new thing? Isn't that what Microsoft's pitching? Enterprise, social, Web 2.0. I go, what does a Newsfeed do to a project manager? What can Yammer do to Mr. Sam in accounting, processing project expenses every month? You tell me. I'm not saying technology is bad, it's great, but unless you can tie it to the business, no mas. Wikis for me, I mean, for all I know, they use that in the club at night, you know, wiki, wiki, wiki. That is the problem we have as project managers or as organizations. We understand the value of tools. Oh, use Project Server, use Primavera, use whatever. But people go back to email because it's easy, they get it, and it gets the job done. You feel the love? But I'm here to tell you, again, email is fantastic. Our role is to understand when to use what and how and what the value is. So let's look at this. When we think about project, friends, there are really three buckets I would categorize projects in. The first type of project is what I would call your ad hoc, informal, short-term, quick-hit project. Not a lot of people, and really it's all about getting tasks and action items taken care of. So if you're in that scenario where you traditionally rely on email, and you can still use email, I'll show you some use cases in a second, that's where SharePoint comes in. SharePoint is a wonderful, wonderful tool that can serve as a PMIS. You have your documents, your schedule, your communication, your tasks, and certainly SharePoint can do that for you. I'll show you an example in a second. Now, as the need matures, so let's say you now realize that you need to have more advanced scheduling. You need dependencies in your projects. You need resourcing information. That's where you use Microsoft Project Professional on the desktop. That's the project version we're all familiar with. Now, as you move up, now you're thinking about, well, Docs, how about portfolio management, program management, demand management? I need to prioritize all our investments in the next fiscal year. What about resource management? If you want to look at the big picture, that's where tools like Project Server comes in. And the beauty of this is that they all work together. Now, just to clarify, Dave mentioned this earlier, there are what's called on-premises version you can install in your company. And the beauty of this is they also have cloud-based version in Office 365 where you can get SharePoint Online, Project Pro for Office 365, and the Project Server version in the cloud is called Project Online. Now that we've talked about some of the bad habits that we have or bad project management practices, the reality of the world and the projects we get into these days, and what Microsoft has to offer, what are some strategies that we can learn from this? So I'm going to share 3 specific strategies on how you can win as a project manager, PMO director, or even executive with projects in your organization. The 3 strategies I want to share is around effective and efficient collaboration, being able to manage your projects better and be more proactive, and third, through time, be able to win and develop new strategies and techniques around managing projects. So first, the first step to win in project management these days is the idea of getting everybody on the same page right away. Okay? Now, what do you mean by that, Docs? You know, when you get started on a project, so let's say this is our project management process in our organization, for example. You know, a sponsor approves a project, it's a go, a PM gets assigned, PM starts doing what the PM needs to do as a part of project initiation. Typically what we do is when I get assigned as in a project, say my boss Tristan says, hey Docs, I want you to open our new office in Perth. So what's a natural reaction that we do? We send an email, right? We fire an email. Hey, Karen, I know you were involved in the opening of the office in Sydney. Our boss Tristan just assigned me to open an office in Perth. Can you share some documents or whatever? Which is fine, right? I email her, and then she pulls together some documents. Maybe, oh, you need to talk to Catherine as well. But you can see how troublesome that'll become as the email snowballs, more attachments go in there, and then suddenly the conversation forks. It's a mess. How can we do better? How can we, from the start, get everybody on the same page right away? This is where SharePoint comes in and where SharePoint's brilliant. SharePoint allows us to quickly get started in a project context. And, you know, instead of talking about this, let me show this to you. So let's say in my intranet, again, this is all out of the box, very simple. I go to my intranet, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with what an intranet is. In my company, we have an intranet. It so happens everything's in Office 365, nothing fancy. And in my intranet, there's a little tab or a little link that says projects. So when I click on projects, it takes me to this web page that as a project manager, I've been trained. I've been trained that when I get a project started, the first thing I need to do is to create a PMIS for my project. You all follow me? So I look at this, it says create a project. So let me go ahead and click on that. So that first box, as I click on it, it's going to take me to a page and show me a selection of project templates, or PMIS template, just to be more specific. And the beauty of this is, as an organization, project managers can work with IT. Yes, IT and business can work together. What a concept. And define what these PMISs look like. Oh, there's a PMIS for opening an office, for a marketing campaign, for software development, what have you. And as you define these PMISs not only is a project website, it also has all the necessary document, checklists, SOPs, templates, project plan in it as well. So let me use just this very simple one. What visibility mode is just a blank one. And I'm going to hit next. And friends, as I hit next, it says give it a name. So I'm going to call this a Breaking Bad Australia presentation. So let's say my project is to build this presentation. Let me hit finish. Now, as soon as I do that, SharePoint in the back end is essentially picking the right template, creating this PMIS, putting everything it needs, and provisioning. Now, for some of you, you're thinking, well, Dux, what's so special about that? This is simple stuff. Now, let's think about this. 20 years ago, if you were a project manager back then, and you needed a PMIS, a project website, whatever, who do you ask for it from? Who do you call in your company? You call PMI? Oh, PMO, yeah, PMO, yeah. And then PMO, who does PMO work with? IT, yes? Because it's always some technology solution. We fill in a ticket request, dear IT, can you get me a PMIS or a project site? I bought you 3 rounds of Guinness last night. Enter. Do you get it right away? No. I mean, depending on the priority, who you are, whatever. But in this scenario, the idea is, as the PMO work with IT, shapes what these PMISs is, introduce this concept to project managers as a part of their process, you can help yourself. Now, I kind of pre-created an example already early on, so just kind of show this to you. So this is a similar example, and in my PMIS, in the spirit of having a one-stop shop, not only can I put all my project documents here, as you can see this, but all the tasks are here as well, any common project calendar, and even project conversations are here. And friends, listen, this is very important. When we think about project management and project management tools, it's still very disjointed. Email is always the central hub of everything. You know, some people will tell me, oh, Dux, we use SharePoint for project management. No, you use SharePoint to dump project management documents. That's all you use it for. I'm not saying everybody, but mostly. Because it's still disjointed. The documents are here, the schedule is there, all the communications is in email. It's not a PMIS. In the spirit of a PMIS, as long as you're in the Microsoft stack and platform, not only can you use this, but later we'll show you all this interacts with Outlook, Excel, Word, whatever, and it's searchable. Right? You can look through everything and anything about the project. Simple things like your tasks, where as you get started, remember that little PowerPoint I showed earlier, if it's just simple action items and tasks, you can enter it. It's great. And this is cross-browser, cross-platform compatible. Even if you use an iPad or Android, whatnot, it still works. I'm working on the Apple Watch app for this. But it's there. And the idea is it gets you on the same page quickly. I would even say most organizations today have SharePoint already. Now, this is another important factor if you want to get everybody on the same page. You want to make sure, as you introduce a concept like this, you don't tell people, stop using email, start using SharePoint. And that's what we've been doing in the last few years. That's why it's not working. Or we would tell people, stop using email or Excel, start using Project Server. Anybody have Project Server at OR? Everybody in your company love Project Server? Comme ci, comme ça? Are there people who hate it, like they say Project Server sucks?
It's not optimized as we'd like it to be.
So they're hating.
It's a useful tool, it's just,
it could be better, yeah? What about other tools like SharePoint, for example? You guys use SharePoint for project management, some of you? Yeah. Do everybody like SharePoint, or are there haters too, like SharePoint sucks? Yes? So if you find somebody, you go back at work tomorrow, they come to you, and the moment they say SharePoint sucks, look at them straight in the eye and say, SharePoint doesn't suck, you suck. Just don't say Duck said so. It's a tool, right? Again, the context is not there. So what I encourage everybody is take baby steps. While SharePoint is great, it's not the end all. Use familiar tools people use today. Dave was talking about people today, the younger generation, mobile, Macs. But then a lot of the, what I would call seasoned veterans, love their email and Excel and Word. The good news is, with a technology like SharePoint, you can make all this work together. Really? How so, Docs? I mean, I recorded a short video demo. What if, just what if, we allow people to use their existing tools, plus SharePoint on the background, to manage projects? How would that world look like? So let's look at this quick video.
Colleague Alex. He and I are working on putting together a presentation for our boss. Thanks to SharePoint 2013, we're able to easily centralize and manage all related artifacts and communications for this project. On a typical day, Alex would start working from home using his Mac. We'd check his email from a browser and start work from there. Looks like Alex is reviewing the task for the project and he has some questions for me about the project. Just by using the browser, he's able to instant message me using technologies like Link. One of the key benefits of SharePoint 2013 is a deep integration with existing tools that we already use, like Microsoft Office, smartphones, and even web-based technologies. So even if I am out and about, I'm still not at the office yet, I can easily respond to Alex on my phone and update my task. The beauty with SharePoint 2013 is that I can continue working with Alex once I get to the office. You just assign me a task on the project site, and look at what happens. It automatically shows up on my task list in Microsoft Outlook. Isn't that cool, or what? Additionally, within Outlook, I can email the entire team directly using this neat feature called Site Mailbox. Site Mailbox is available not only in Outlook, but it's the same site mailbox that the team can see and interact with directly on the project site. Site Mailbox also provides visibility to all the documents I have in the project site. So what do you think? Are you excited? I am. This is the new way to work together with SharePoint 2013.
So that's pretty cool, right? And friends, you could do that today. So let me show you another example here. So just to kind of carrying on that train of thought, you know, one thing, the ability for you to update your task on your phone, 50% done and all that, and the ability for that update to show up in Outlook in your project schedule, that's huge. Because a lot of us as project managers today, what we do is we get updates to your email. Yeah, I spent 5 hours, I spent 20%. And then we as project managers, what do? We take that information from email, type in our project plan, enter it maybe in Excel, and go to the most powerful database out there called Access and enter that as well. Right? And we do this all day long. We're getting paid too much to be people. But you can drive sustainable adoption with existing tools people use, coupled with tools like SharePoint. Now, I want to share this story. So I was working with a customer a year or so ago. So as AppPoint, some of you may not be familiar with AppPoint. So we're the biggest partner for Microsoft SharePoint. What that means is we have a lot of products and solutions for SharePoint and Project and Office 365. And we also help customers understand what the technologies they have and how they can maximize it. So I was helping a customer last year. They're like, Docs, we have a big investment on Microsoft, and it's just this big file share. How can we use it better? And one of the things we found out is one of the quick wins is the ability to use it for project management. Because at any given point in time, they have 100 projects that they run that's being managed in Excel and email. So we work with them, we provide them a strategy and train them. And every project since that point forward had a project site just like this in the spirit of having a one-stop shop, every single thing about the project is there. It's great. Now, one of the things that I found as I helped them with this is at the end of the month, every project manager had to submit their expenses to, let's call him Mr. Tristan in accounting. So Mr. Tristan, we get in his email, 100 emails of Excel spreadsheets that's attached. His job is to come up with like a project's expense summary at the end of the month. You know Mr. Tristan, right? You have those Mr. Tristans in your office. So I talked to Mr. Tristan. I said, Mr. Tristan, can you tell me how much time you spend in this one process, collating all expenses, coming up with a report? You say, I've been doing this for 8 years, part of my job. I spend about 6-7 hours doing this every month on the average. And in most cases, what's even worse, I have to do overtime because these project managers would always send it to me the last minute. I keep bugging them, okay? And that's common in any organization. So I told Mr. Tristan, Mr. Tristan, your company has invested in the new version of SharePoint. We're working with a PMO and project managers. What we could do for you is to give you your own expense site, as project managers enter the expenses, information will go there. And he says, oh, stop. He said, Sonny, he called me Sonny. Sonny, I'm retiring in 2 years. I don't want to learn anything new. All my life in accounting, I use Excel and email and Word, and that's all I need. I don't care about saving time, because I'm done in 2 years. Now you know Mr. Tristan. So I said, all right, Mr. Tristan, sorry I used the S word, the first rule of the Fight Club, you don't talk about the Fight Club. So I'm going to show you a feature in Excel, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to tell project managers, instead of sending an email attachment with expenses, we're going to tell them, in the spirit of having a one-stop shop, put their expenses here, and as soon as they do that, it's going to automatically show up in an Excel spreadsheet in your desktop, in your My Documents folder. You don't have to go anywhere. We're essentially cutting down that whole process of emailing. You don't have to deal with email. He goes, really? I go, yeah. So here's how it's going to work, Mr. Tristan. So we're going to open up Excel, and again, this is nothing out of the ordinary. It's just regular Excel. I kind of pre-typed this. So, let's say we bought... My mouse not working. If I had a MacBook Pro, no, just kidding. Oh, there you go. No, it was thinking. Okay, that's what it is. What happened? Okay. All right, I think it... No. Okay, let's open this again. I promise this is not a bootleg copy. It's a licensed copy of Excel, so I don't know what's going on here. Okay, perfect. So let's do this again. I'm going to type item, cost, and projector. So let's say for the project, we bought a projector, and because I was showing this to Mr. Tristan, we spent $500, yeah? And I'm going to convert this to what's called an Excel table, okay? And notice, it's very straightforward, simple Excel, but as soon as I do that, this thing popped up under design, it lit up. Let me do one thing real quick here. Because I was preparing for my demo and I wasn't expecting to. There you go. So as I change this to an Excel table, this thing popped up. It says publish and allow sync. Okay? So what this thing will do is it's built into Excel. The idea is you can take your spreadsheet information and then publish it to a SharePoint site, in this case my PMIS, and then keep the connection open. So instead of typing it manually, friends, I'm just going to go ahead and copy the website address of my PMIS. There you go. And then I'm going to call this the Breaking Bad Melbourne Expenses, whatever, okay? And I'm going to hit publish. So just like what we saw in the video earlier, where the phone works with Outlook, works with SharePoint, Excel contacted that PMIS, took the information and published it, and kept the connection open. The idea now is Mr. Tristan will just keep this on his computer, on his desktop. He doesn't have to go anywhere. And project managers, in the spirit of having a one-stop shop on their PMIS, they will have that same piece of information connected to that Excel spreadsheet available. So now when project managers go to their project site, notice there's this what's called project expense list called BB Melbourne expenses. Okay? So what's the new process like? Instead of project managers emailing Mr. Tristan, project managers can come here, and enter any project-related expenses. So let's say for this project, we bought a car, $80,000. It's a government project. So now, how would Mr. Tristan? Is it record? No, it's not recorded. Okay. How would Mr. Tristan know, right? Mr. Tristan in accounting. Well, as some of you may know, in SharePoint, there's a feature called alerts where you can notify people if certain things change. In this case, if there's a new expense, notify Mr. Tristan. Y'all follow me? So what we could do is we can say notify Mr. Tristan anytime there's a change. And since we put a new information there, an alert would go out to Mr. Tristan saying a new expense has been entered. That's also known as micromanagement. Now, Mr. Tristan, as soon as he gets that alert, he can go to his Excel spreadsheet on his computer and just hit this little button called synchronize. And as soon as he does that, 1, 2, 3, voila, that same piece of information would be in Excel. Okay? But wait, there's more. As Mr. Tristan is looking at the receipts and invoices, you guys didn't buy a car, you bought carpet, and it's $800. Mr. Tristan can update it in Excel and hit synchronize, and that same piece of information is now updated on the project site as well, or the PMIS, in the spirit of having one source of truth without varying information flying all over the place. Y'all see that? That's what I call project management on your terms. You don't have to jam, you got to use Microsoft Project. No, Mr. Tristan, accounting, use Excel. Mobile workers, remote workers, use your phone. SharePoint is the keychain that will hold all this together. By the way, you guys like this capability? Who doesn't know about it? Raise your hand. It's okay, no judgment. Okay. Some of you may be thinking, again, Docs, you're selling me new features, Office 365. Actually, this is not new. This feature in Excel has been there since 2003. In SharePoint 2003. It's a 12-year-old technology. Right? So when I showed this to Mr. Tristan, I helped him and I said, look, Mr. Tristan, now you can do it for the 99 other projects. You can have a summary sheet. In Excel, you have a summary sheet. You pull all the information from the other spreadsheets and have his monthly report. And I said, I'm going to come back in 3 months and you tell me how much time you spend after this new way of doing it, this modern way of doing it. We made Excel look cool again, right? So I came back 3 months. He said, Docs, instead of spending 7 hours now, in the last 2 months, I spent 6 hours. In 1 month, 5 hours. It's great. And that's where the value comes in. We don't just tell people to use technology for technology's sake. We saved him time. And even better, he told me, and I did not do overtime the last 2 months. How much money is that for the company? And that's only one simple process. Isn't that cool? Mr. Tristan, what do you do now that you saved 2 hours of your time? I learned how to use Facebook. That's a different problem. Okay, so that's the first step to win in project management today. How can you get people to collaborate efficiently? And as you know, email, I don't have to keep saying this, is not efficient. You have all these tools at the palm of your hands that you can take advantage of. And certainly mobility is key. It's very important, right? The beauty of the platform, the Microsoft platform, it's available across devices, across technologies. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Microsoft is the only game in town. There's a lot of other tools out there. Primavera, Basecamp, Asana, Trello. I'm sure some of you have used those. But here's the value proposition. If you use Trello, Trello doesn't talk to Excel nor it talks to Outlook. If you use Primavera, nobody can update their task on their iPhone that syncs with Exchange that's going to update Primavera. You have to write some custom code to do it. Y'all with me? The promise here is you can leverage tools people use today, which I believe almost all of you would have Office and Windows at your workplace. The second value, or the second way to win in project management today in this modern world, is the ability for us, be it project managers, portfolio managers, or executives, to be more proactive, to be able to manage our projects more effectively. And the ability for information to be available for the right person at the right time is key. And you need the right tools to do this. So, for example, Microsoft Project is a wonderful tool. So we talked about SharePoint. We talked about Office. But when does Project come in, right? So Microsoft Project comes in when you're at a juncture where, let me go back, what SharePoint offers you is not enough. So for example, this PMIS, we have a task list. You can put tasks, but visibly absent is the ability for you to put dependencies. You all know what dependencies are. Finish to start, start to start. It's just not here. And that's fine, because you've outgrown what SharePoint can offer, but then you can take the next step. Just like how SharePoint connects with all the other Office tools, notice here it says open with project. Yeah? And now, by doing that, and I kind of did it earlier as well, when you open with project, you can now put in more tasks, very detailed schedule information, dependencies, resource assignment, and even a timeline. And this is what project managers use. They could still use Microsoft Project, but in addition, connected to the PMIS. Y'all follow me? Now, here's the value proposition. Listen. As project managers, we're comfortable with it. It's great. But as you know, not everybody can use Microsoft Project. I don't know about you, my first experience with Microsoft Project was like that first bad date in high school. Because back in my days, I started my career as an assembler programmer. You guys know assembler? If you don't know what that is, you weren't born yet. I remember my boss saying, hey, Docs, you're going to manage this new release of the assembler code for this chip. Use Microsoft Project. I go, how hard could that be? I'm an engineer. I do assembler. Project is like Office. So I opened Project. This was in 1995, I remember. And I was looking at it for 3 hours. I didn't know what to do with it. And in fact, unfortunately, because you're laughing, it's true, right? No offense, Microsoft, but there's an assumption that you know your project management fundamentals. In fact, a lot of companies I work with today, they go, oh yeah, we got a project plan. We use Microsoft Project. I go, really? I can tell you how to use it. You create a nice Gantt chart, make it colorful. Once the plan, you think it's done, you print it out, everybody has a copy of the printout of the Gantt chart, and that's the end of Microsoft Project. Agreed? If that's all you do, use Excel. It's too expensive for you to do that with projects. The power of this capability is we as project managers, we can do what we do, and guess what? Listen, once you think it's done, you hit save, it's going to sync with the project site. Your resources don't even need to use project. They get their assignments in Outlook. They can go to the project site and update it there. They don't need to interact with Microsoft Project. Because almost always when you email this project plan, you know what happens when you email a Microsoft Project plan around, you expect people to fill it out, right? It comes back as Word. Because people don't know what to do with it. And they shouldn't. Now, so you can use Microsoft Project to do this. So let me extend my conversation. So once you do all this, right? What can we expect? What can we have? So as a project manager, you can use Project. You can continue using Project as a. Let me bring up my PowerPoint here. As a, I know, I missed that show though. So, as a decision maker in leadership, you could look at all up and track relevant metrics. So Microsoft Project is great at an individual project, but then for leadership, the PMO portfolio, what about looking at the big picture? And that's where Project Server or Project Online comes in. So if I would go back and show you an example. So let me go back, friends, to
My colleague Alex. He and I are working on putting together.
let me go ahead and close this guy. So if I go back to, okay, I'm back here. So let me click on this. And by the way, friends, if you're using Office 365, there's that little menu icon. This thing, by the way, is called a waffle, and I'm not kidding. It's called a waffle. It's a new term, right, Dave? It's called a waffle. Yeah, the waffle. So if you start seeing the word waffle, that means it's this menu. Looks like a waffle. And when I click on projects, it's going to take me to, this is Project Online. And certainly you can make it, prettier, put your logo, change layout and whatnot. But the beauty of it, at an organizational level, I can look and track whatever metrics I'd like. So for example, I can go to Project Center, which shows me are my portfolio projects, and I can display it however I want or whatever is relevant for me. So for example, the way it's being displayed right now, it's showing all the different stage gates. You guys know it's stage gate and all the different gates in the organization. So I organize it that way. I have a column where I track the health, and you can put your own KPI in there. You can say if it's above 20% delayed based on the original schedule, it's a yellow. If it's like 50% above budget, it's red, whatever. So you can do all that. So you can have a big picture view of what's going on. Now, certainly, depending, again, on who you are, if all you want is a laundry list of your projects, so let me go to summary, it's going to give me a long list of all the different projects, and it's going to show up. But then let's say I want to look at a specific project. Okay, let me look at this Brisbane marketing campaign project. I can certainly click on it, and it's going to drill down to the actual schedule as long as I have the permission. This respects privacy and security, how Dave talks about compliance. In fact, Office 365 is the only cloud provider that has the most government industry regulation compliant approval certification whatnot in the world. So I can only see what I'm supposed to see. So when I look at this is a schedule. So as a resource, other than being able to update my task on my phone, in Outlook, I can even come here and say, actual, I spent 5 hours, 10 hours, and whatnot. Y'all see that? You can use iPad or whatever other device. And there's apps out there as well. I'll talk about apps in a second. Now, what about the metrics of resources? So I'm sure in larger PMOs, you have resource managers or delivery managers who tracks people's utilization and availability. So this way, what I could do is I can pick specific resources and look at who's working on what when. And this is real-time data based on current projects that are running. So as let's say I'm planning to look at projects for the next quarter, I can look at all my resources, what they're working on. So let's say here, Alex has this much availability that week. These are the projects Alex is working on, etc. What do you guys think so far? Useful? I'm sure it's much better in email and Excel, right? Now, as another metric, so we looked at being able to look at the portfolio projects, being able to look at resources. I know one of the things that's very important is for decision makers, looking at big picture. And I know reporting and dashboarding is very important. One of the nice things with Office 365 and Project Online, as you know, Microsoft is investing cloud first. So all the wonderful ways to do things will be introduced in the cloud. And one of the recent investments Microsoft has done is in the area of reporting. So what I did here is I built a simple report through a technology called Power BI, and I use Excel to do it. It's essentially the idea of we have projects around the world. Other than looking at the list of projects in a tabular form, I want it against a map. Power BI comes with a technology called Power Map. I built it in Excel. Essentially, I told Excel, pull all the projects in Project Online layered against a map. And it's loading. And the good news of this, it's a great way to visualize all your projects, not just the health of it, but in a geographically dispersed organization, you can see what's going on around the world. And you can drill down, show me all the IT projects in Europe. Show me all the legal projects in Australia. So you can simply and clearly do that. And like I said, I built it in Excel and I uploaded it, and then it can render it on the browser. So it's coming up in a few seconds here. So that's one of the things that's really powerful. And in terms of investments, they've talked about Windows 10, Azure Machine Learning. And this is no joke. One of the things that you can do today is do natural language queries as well. So when I talk about natural language queries, when we think about report, we always think of it as pre-built, right? So this is cool, this is fancy. So when I look at this, I can come here and I can say, show me all the IT projects. And then it's going to filter and drill down. Boom. Show me all the projects in Canada. That's IT or operations. Whatever. Everybody see that? So this is cool. This is the kind of stuff that will get you promoted. Now, but what's cooler and what's coming is there's also ways to do natural language inquiry. So literally, you go to a search box in your report, you can say, compare Q1 project schedule to Q2. You can just type that in, ask a question. And then taking it to the next level, Windows 10, you can actually do voice-activated query with Cortana. Hey Cortana, compare Q1 projects in UK to Q1 projects in Aussie. I'm not kidding, it's there, it's coming. This is really, really powerful. And Cortana is not only available in Windows, Microsoft already announced it's going to be available on all iOS devices. Imagine if you're able to work this way. Executives, hey Cortana, can you compare all these projects? Very cool. Now, sorry, I'm not as excited as I should be, but it's just, again, I also want to preface this. In spite of all these wonderful things, you always come back and think about how do you drive sustainable adoption. I'm not saying you do this all at once. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying here is to be able to manage proactively and not reactively, Microsoft has all the suite of tools that you need. And this is something I really love as well. I know a lot of you have encountered this. In the past, in the Microsoft ecosystem, you have your Outlook tasks, you have your project tasks, you have your SharePoint tasks. You all remember that? It's all different. Today, task is a task is a task is a task. So let's say in Outlook, I create a task, it's going to surface up and aggregate with all my other tasks. If my project manager assigns me a task in Project Online, it's going to show up in Outlook, and if I sync it with my phone, it's going to show up in my phone as well. Because that's how I work. As long as you use the same versions of these technology, all of them would work together in perfect harmony. And that's the other value proposition of the cloud as well. I understand in some organizations you can go to the cloud, but as all these technologies work together, it's going to take a whole lot for us to, we need to upgrade Project Server, Exchange, SharePoint. Whereas in the cloud, you essentially swipe your credit card, flip the switch, it's there. And in my mind, if infrastructure is not your core business, or you're not a defense agency or a highly compliant organization, I say you consider the cloud. When we talk about reporting, you can have all the different kinds of rich visualization, but you can also make it as pretty as you'd like it to be. So this is a real example. Today we're working with a Ministry of Labor in Saudi Arabia. In fact, we were working with Microsoft in Saudi. They told us this is the biggest deployment of Project Server in the country. And what we're doing there is we're working with Ministry of Labor, 8 government agencies under them, and they have all their PMOs. We're working to integrate and interface and have an all-up reporting for the minister so he can see all the different portfolios that they have. This is just a screenshot of the IT portfolio. Then he can go to another page to do a roll-up and see a portfolio of their other investments. And this is possible with Microsoft because beyond out-of-the-box reporting tools that Project Online provides or SharePoint Online, you can tap into other technologies. Like this one's using SSRS. You guys remember SSRS? You want to use Power BI? You could. Excel services? You could. There's just a lot of options. And this one right here, friends, is on-premises. So you could do this on-premises. This is for them. We created because people are comfortable in Excel. So the idea is all the project summary for project managers, they want it in Excel. And the other requirement that they had is there's so much information. They said anytime anything goes yellow for risk rating, automatically send an email alert and or text message. And how can you do that? Workflows are built into SharePoint and Project Server. So you can put all the rules and criteria where, again, in the sea of information, as we know, how can we provide context? Automation allows context. Everybody with me? So you could do a whole lot. The third step to win in project management today is the ability to deliver business value through time. Is the ability to win consistently and better serve the business. And every organization is different. I would also say within an organization, the needs are different, and through time, you should be able to step up as project managers or PMO to deliver value. Now the question is, what does winning look like? Hopefully not this guy. I don't know if this is an American joke, but at one point he was all in the media. Anyway, what does winning look like? And I would say it depends. The good news is your Microsoft investments can take you there. Folks in marketing, maybe they don't even need to know you have Project Online or Project Server. Maybe all they need to use is Excel and SharePoint and their phone, and that's fine. You can set this up in a way where all the different tools and technologies work together, so regardless of what their project management needs are, you as an organization, in partnership with your Microsoft technology investment, can offer and provide. And then one of the things you may wonder too is, well, Dux, what if there's just one very specific capability that Microsoft doesn't have? Are you saying now we have to hire developers and program it and whatnot? No. The beauty of Microsoft is Microsoft has a very rich ecosystem of partners. So for example, we work closely with Microsoft. In fact, outside of Microsoft, we have the most SharePoint developers in the world. We have 1,000 developers. But we've also introduced a lot of apps in the Microsoft App Store ecosystem. So if you're familiar with Office 365, you can get apps. So one of the apps we have, and this is free, you can use this today if you have Office 365, it's called Meetings. Meetings is very important in a project management setting. And think about your weekly status meeting and whatnot. If you download this app in your Office 365 environment, and this is available on premises too, so if you have questions about that, the idea is whenever you run your project meetings, you can go to the Meetings app and you can put all the agenda, action items, decisions. But here's the cool part. Listen, when you assign an action item and people agree on the meeting and you save it, it will automatically go to people's Outlook task. Right? Because that's the issue, right? Every time you do a meeting, okay, Joe, you do this, Dux, you do that, it's documented. But unless it's in Outlook, not going to happen. That's just how we operate today. We operate within our calendar. Now, there's a lot of other apps and solutions also that provide security and compliance, and also line of business integration. Our customer in Saudi, we were going to integrate that project management platform into SAP, because Microsoft's platform is open enough that you can do it. And in reality, a lot of financial data in projects doesn't sit on Project Server. It sits on some other financial system out there. Now, I want to share another story, and you'll get a kick out of it. So, I live and work in Washington, D.C. I work a lot with U.S. government agencies, and we had a requirement from a defense agency, legal department. They said, Docs, in a lot of the projects we work with, we have legal documents that we work with other legal entities in other countries. And what we want to do is not only provide the ability for the other entity to access these legal documents, and we don't want to use email because it's not safe, but we want to lock it down where it's accessed. We want to say that this piece of contract or project, budget, whatever, other than being accessed in the office, there are only 3 other locations in the world that can be accessed within this longitude, latitude. So even if the person has the right username and password, but they're not in the right location, or even better, not using the right device, they can't access it. Really? Let me show this to you. So in this example, I was working from home using my Mac. So I logged into my project site. And when I log into my project site, it detected you're not at work, right? And it didn't load the site. It showed me a QR code. Now I have to bring my phone out because my phone has an app that will authenticate my location in my device. So I took a picture. So my iPad sent the information back, captured the GPS location, and if it's an approved location, my project site would load. Now, how sure are we Dux is in the right location? So the folks at PMO, they went back. They want to check who's been accessing these project documents. So we're going to log in and run an audit. So they log in, and they're going to pull up audits of these project artifacts that are being accessed. And looks like Ducks logged in from that location, longitude, latitude. But where is that location? Let me click on it. That's where Ducks exactly accessed the project plan. Love Big Brother. What's my point? Are you scaring me now, Ducks? No, my point is, it's exciting because regardless of the requirements you have, be it ad hoc collaboration, and some of you may say this extreme compliance and security needs, the platform can do it for you. Right? And I'm not scaring you, but we're all well aware with this ever-growing threat of data breaches, data leaks, security hacks. The good news is the Microsoft platform has ways and means to help you that's easy, that works with your existing technology. 3 steps to win in project management: the ability to collaborate efficiently, manage effectively, be more proactive versus reactive, and through time be able to win and address the different business needs your organizations have through project management. What do you guys think? Useful? On the count of 3, I want you to shout out loud with me the word up there. 1, 2, 3. Shift happens. Thank you for coming, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, we'll be here to stay, but enjoy the rest of your day.